Nisreen, so reports that more people have been killed. Just bring us up to date with what you've been hearing across the border there in Jordan.
Yes, Darren, activists have reported several deaths in several provinces across Syria. These all happened on Friday after the noon prayers. These are weekly protests that have been happening each Friday during Ramadan. In Deir ez-Zor, 5 people were killed in several neighborhoods there, mainly in El Shuhail town and in Al Quriya, which came under heavy attack by tanks in the last few days. Residents there are telling us that tanks are still stationed almost in every street there, and they feel that they are under some kind of military occupation. We also heard that there have been 2 injuries in Al Quriya neighborhood. Now in Dar'a, 1 man was killed when troops opened fire at protesters in Nawa village in Dar'a, which is not too far away from where I'm standing. Also, troops reportedly threw a man from the 2nd floor of a building in Dar'a. He's critically injured. We've heard also as well about several arrests that have taken place in Dar'a, in Damascus as well, where it is very difficult for residents to take to the streets and protest in the capital. Thousands did in Douma suburb, where protesters also faced the gunfire of Syrian troops, and 2 people were killed, and there are also 2 injuries in Al-Qadam neighborhood in Damascus as well, when Syrian troops in armored vehicles stormed into that protest. Now we're also hearing about a large number of injuries, at least 20 injuries in the province of Idlib, when Syrian troops opened fire on protesters in Ma'arrat al-Nu'man. Also in Rif Dimashq and Al-Hammuriyya, there are at least 5 injuries. We're also hearing about several even mass arrests in Hama and in Aleppo, and in Latakia, which many viewers may remember came under heavy naval and military attack in the last 2 weeks. There was such a heavy security presence at the mosques after the Friday prayers that made it impossible for anyone to take to the streets in Al-Raml al-Janubi neighborhood and in Al-Samke neighborhood. Darren.
Nisreen, just briefly, in terms of the wider picture, how are the international sanctions biting and affecting the country now?
Well, Syrian residents we've been speaking to told us that the Syrian government hasn't really felt the pinch yet, even though they feel they have, because they say that poor people are the first to be affected by these sanctions. Basically, they say investments have been impacted, people have been laid off from their jobs, and tourism sector is dead. It's usually very lively and profitable in these months of the summer. The Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has said that even if Europe decides to cut off or impose an embargo on Syrian oil imports, he will try to look for alternatives such as Russia and China, who have not agreed on any additional sanctions on Syria. They believe that Iran might even buy this crude oil. 90% of Syria's crude oil is sold basically to European countries. So if the European Union indeed decides to impose this embargo on Syrian oil imports, supposedly, and according to what activists are telling us, the pinch is supposed to be felt. But it doesn't seem that the Syrian president or the government are responding to any of this international pressure, Darren.
Nisreen, thank you.